Hey, what's up guys? My name is Lauren Hardy and I am your wholesaling coach. So today's video, we are going to talk about what is virtual wholesaling real estate. So, I was inspired to do this video because I was on Instagram the other day and I follow Max Maxwell. I love Max Maxwell. I think he's amazing. And he was doing one of those like Q&A on the IG stories. And one of them is virtual wholesaling a real thing? And I think Max's response was something like, no, it's a gimmick or something. I don't really know. He said something like, no, it's just a word and it doesn't mean anything. And here I am like, okay, I'm all about virtual wholesaling and it does mean actually something to me because it's my life. So in this video, I am going to talk about the word virtual wholesaling. A lot of people don't know, what I mean, especially like my friends and family, they follow me on social media and they're like, what is this virtual wholesaling thing you do? It sounds very OnlyFans or something, but no, it is a thing. So in this video, I'm going to tell you a little bit about virtual wholesaling. And if you guys have, any questions on what it is, please make sure you put it in the comments below. So I should first explain what is wholesaling. So if you are new to the concept or the term wholesaling real estate, listen up. So wholesaling, the word wholesaling is actually a jargon term. If you say we're talking to a real estate attorney, he or she might have no idea what you're talking about if you say wholesale real estate. They won't actually know that you are referring to contract assignments. So in our industry, we call it wholesaling. That's a jargon term. It's actually the practice of assigning your real estate contract to an end buyer. So you say are the buyer, you get a contract, a purchase agreement from a seller, you get it executed, and now you're turning around and you are selling that contract for a fee to an end buyer. And the way you do that is by means of assignment. And the reason you do that is because you are going to get an assignment fee, also known as a wholesale fee. So that is what wholesaling is. And traditionally, people are doing this in their backyard, right? You're doing it in the area you live in. But when we say the word virtual, what we mean is that you are not doing it in your backyard. You are doing it either out of state or maybe a couple hours away. So what is virtual wholesaling? Virtual wholesaling is something that I've been doing for about 4 or 5 years now. And it's wholesaling real estate just like I described, but I am doing it out of state. I personally made that choice to do it out of state because my market that I live in is very, very difficult. I live in a very high-priced market. I live in Southern California, and it's hard to come across good deals in the area I'm in. I'm in Orange County in LA, so it's really difficult to wholesale real estate. It's a lot easier to wholesale real estate where there's a little bit more of seller distress or motivated sellers or inventory. In Southern California, a very high demand, not a lot of inventory. Average house price is like $850,000 right now. So that's why I chose to go virtual. And that is why a lot of people choose to go virtual, is that their hometown is not conducive to the typical wholesale model. Another reason people want to go virtual is possibly to expand. So you're probably wondering, how do you pull this off? How do you pull off getting a house under contract when you can't even see it? You can't even talk to the seller face to face. Like, what kind of seller is going to sell you their home if you can't see them face to face? You're probably wondering that, but I'm here to tell you I've done hundreds of deals virtually. I've done everything virtually. I have built homes virtually. I've flipped houses, HGTV style virtually, and I've wholesaled hundreds of houses virtually. It is doable, but you have to make some key tweaks. So I'm gonna get into that right now. The first thing is you have to have a good process, and you need to be really, really good on the phones, and you need to be able to explain that process to the seller. The better you are at taking control of the conversation on the phone, the more successful you're going to be. You need to be very, very good on the phones. Now, to help you guys out, I have a free script that I offer on my personal website, laurenhardyco.com. Check it out and sign up for the free script. That is the first script that I use when I first speak with the seller. You need to be really good on the phones, and you need to be able to get that seller to trust that you are going to fulfill that purchase agreement that you're signing. The next thing is that you need to be good at pricing houses out. So one common mistake that people make is that their offer pricing is not sharp. It's not right for the area. When you are comfortable, say in one area, and you're offering, based off some kind of ARV minus repair rule formula in your backyard, that might work for your backyard, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work in every territory. I can tell you because I have been in about 5 different territories I've done deals in, and each one of those territories has a different pricing model. So you need to get very, very good at pricing houses anywhere. Now, I personally have a different theory on pricing, and I teach it with my coaching students all the time. I call it more of a commodities-based pricing. So I look at houses like a commodity, like anything else for sale. I don't care what the ARV is. I don't care what the repairs are. What I want to know is, what are other investors paying in this area? So when I get a house and say I'm trying to come up with an offer price, I'm going to zero in on the neighborhood, and I'm going to try to find the investor purchases. And I use a tool called PropStream. I'm going to put that link in the show notes. But I use PropStream's comping tool, and I zero in on the neighborhood, and I try to find as many investor purchases as I can. And typically, not always, but typically, you will get several comps that are around the same price range in that neighborhood if it was purchased by an investor. So I typically get a price range that will work for me based off of actual comps in the area, as opposed to the other idea of finding what this house should sell for if it was all fixed up and then trying to back out the repairs. I don't do that, and that actually doesn't work in all areas. Let me give you an example. In areas where it's the primary game is rental properties and you're actually going to be selling to a landlord buyer, that ARV minus repair rule doesn't make sense because you're not flipping the house. A landlord buyer will actually pay more than a house flipper because the landlord is buying it based off the cash flow. So remember that. If you are pricing houses out based off what you think a flipper would want it for, you might be doing it wrong. You need to look at what is actually sold to investors and be competitive in that range. Now, obviously, you are going to have a local presence there in some shape or form. That does not mean that you have to have some full-time employee or an office or anything, but you do need some boots on ground. So my best recommendation when you're first getting started is just find a local wholesaler in the area that you can joint venture with on your deals at first for a while. So even I do that when I go into a new territory. I will JV with another wholesaler until I get a little bit more established in the area. Then there is a progressive step of you can hire, maybe I call them a runner, somebody to run errands for you, and you can start coordinating more things over the phone. But until you're at that place, start with just finding a local joint venture partner that you can partner with on your first, say, 5 to 10 deals in that virtual territory. So I gave you a couple quick tips, and these are the things that come up the most often when I'm doing these videos and people are asking me questions or on my social media. So I thought I would get into them a little bit. Now, a lot of people, ask me, how do you get started in virtual wholesaling? Well, it's the same as getting started in regular wholesaling or anything else. You just have to go for it. And the thing is you can't go for it half-ass. You have to go through it or go for it all the way, okay? You have to commit. You have to commit to this territory, and you have to commit to making it work. You have to have a whatever it takes mentality. All too often, what I see is people go into it about 30% and then they still kind of work their other market, or they're just like not fully committed to making this virtual territory work. You need to focus on your virtual territory 100%. Focus on one territory at a time. Every territory takes time to figure out. After doing about 5 territories and also after coaching over 300 students, I've learned that every market has nuances. It would be impossible for me to tell you all of them. It's impossible for me to even know them. But every market has nuances that you would never know about until you did enough deals and you learned about it. Let me give you some examples of what I mean by a nuance. Like, for example, in Oklahoma, I never realized this until a couple months into it, that there is a type of soil, and it's some red clay type soil, and it causes a lot of foundation problems. So when you are looking at homes and you're comping them out, you always want to consider that there's foundation damage. Didn't know that, took me a few months to learn it, and I learned it from my JV partner who was telling me, hey, you need to make sure you account for homes have foundation problems. Another example would be in, Florida. Florida, it's very common to buy homes that are newer in age, like say 2010. You can still wholesale homes that are around, built around 2010 and below, where in other areas like my Midwestern markets, I wouldn't market to a house that was that new. That would be like a brand new house in the areas that, I work. But in Florida, it's all new. There's so many new neighborhoods, so you can go a little bit newer in, property type when you are, focused on a certain type of home. So again, these are just nuances, and you need to spend some time in each market so you can learn what these nuances are. It personally took me 3 to 4 years to figure out virtual wholesaling, and that's because I was doing it on my own. There was no coaching programs. It was very much, I was trailblazing and figuring it out by talking to other people that were virtual wholesaling and just collaborating and seeing what works for everybody. So it's understandable, if you are trying or thinking about going virtual, just know it might take you a little bit to figure out. If you did want to cut the learning curve, make sure you check out virtualinvestingmastery.com. That's my coaching program. And if you guys, again, I've got that free script. If you want to check out a free script, go to www.laurenhardyco.com. I've got a free wholesaling mini course there as well. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, make sure you give me a thumbs up, and thanks for watching.